What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. If you're listening to this, that is. Well, if you're not listening to this, I still wish you well, yeah? I'm going to send out some extra powerful psychic messages. I wish you well. Wait, I think I need a different sound for this well-wishing event.
And just like general good vibes, you know. I wish that for you.
All right, what's happening, guys? I'm wishing you well, and I'm hoping you're well because, well, honestly, it's been a strange kind of rough couple days. It's weird out here on the internet. You know what I mean? With everything that's going on, you know, the whole sort of world as we knew it collapsing in on itself, and all these new decisions being forced, right? Our hands being forced into something different. Everybody's had to readjust, and depending on your job, your chosen profession, your area of expertise, well, it may have been a small change, and it may have been something much more, right? In my normal life, in my non-fake truth life, I am in a profession that was deeply impacted by this crisis, and well, I'm sure it'll come back in some form or another at some point, right? But we really just don't know when. It could be this fall. But I just highly doubt it. There's been so much telegraphing and hinting at this second wave. What were they just calling it? Second peak. They don't want to call it a second wave. They want to call it a second peak. And right, it's pretty clear to me at this point that we're being conditioned, right? I don't think that's much of a stretch. Whether what's going on is completely real or completely fabricated, the conditioning is happening nonetheless. And, well, what's the effect of that going to be? And it's pretty obvious at this point that they're nowhere close to being done with this technique. It's such a mind-blowing technique at this point in human history, right? A couple of years from now, they're going to have to come up with something else to totally wreck our minds. But at this point, it's working like gangbusters. And right, with something this novel, as they call it, I just don't think. We're nowhere near the end. Basically, they're going to use many more tricks in the book to just get people all hatcheted in their brains until they're just bleeding on the floor, right? Metaphorically speaking is what I'm talking about. And well, what am I trying to say? I'm saying this just because on a personal level, right? I think myself and anybody else listening to this show is going to have a little armor, have a little more protection to their brains than the average person. But that's how advanced, how powerful this technique is, right? It's like, yeah, getting hit with the force of 1,000 suns. And even if you have that powerful armor, you're still going to be affected. You just can't help it. And well, all of this is to say that I guess in the background here, I'm trying to set up a new life, a whole brand new life that is basically completely digital, is fully online. And well, I mean, I guess it might be hard to believe because you're listening to me talk on a YouTube channel. But for most of my life, I have purposefully shunned this modern world the best that I could. For most of my life, I was much more interested in older things, Paris in the 1920s and historical events and culture from older cultures, because I mean, maybe it was my own personal cultural bias or whatever you want to call it, but I was always drawn to things from the previous century, and because there was a common denominator there was less input back then, basically, and attention spans were longer, so the entertainment, the culture of that time, just it's a fact. It is more complex, requires more thoughtful attention, and therefore reaps you much larger rewards, right? There's no comparing the emotional satisfaction you would get from watching a cat video on YouTube compared to actually listening and understanding like a full symphony, for example, or just really getting into and vibing out with some really good art. I mean, and all of this is coming from previous centuries, and that's I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about all this, about culture in the modern era as opposed to culture from previous eras, and your take on all that. But at least for me, that was always my stance, that this whole social media thing, it's bad for you. It sucks out your brain. It gets you in these feedback loops and really sort of damages you as a person, which was my stance for the longest time. But now in this new era, everything is changing, right? And that is becoming not really like an option anymore, right? If you did something old school that required you to be in person, well, that's not really something you can do right now. And it may be slowly drifting back, but as far as actually economically relying on one of these old school 20th or 19th century practices, they're making it pretty clear that's not going to be on the table anymore, this old school stuff. And I guess, that's been my tribulation over these last couple days, is trying to set something up that's online and feeling like it's almost too late, right? Everything is so saturated here on the internet that it seems impossible to cut through or start something new, much less actually earn a living off of it. And I'm definitely trying to do that in other areas. As much as I love doing this show, I mean, I think you're all fully aware at this point that this type of content, risky, borderline, subversive, government smashing, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, truth seeking, it is not cool. It is not okay. It is not something that should be encouraged. And right, I've thought a lot also about, right, doing this show, because there's such a concerted effort to stop this type of thing. And that's sort of what got me interested about it in the first place. That, like, why would you guys be putting all this energy into keeping people away from this information or these ideas? And I in this community, I've definitely discovered amazing things, realized amazing things about the world and how it works, and all of those details. But now, as we get a little farther along in this story, it is it's becoming clear, right, that the light hand, the gentle algorithmic push away from this content is the sort of first wave, just like with this current crisis, and that as it progresses, the techniques are just going to get stronger and stronger. And yeah, it's a little unsettling because it makes you wonder what is coming next. There's a lot of people talking about this move from Joe Rogan, right? And I think this is sort of like a bellwether to what's going on here, right? This is in the new, and this is how this works, and this is what makes me realize that there really is something going on here at this moment in time, right? When things really start to correlate, and that's, oh man, it gets me going when you realize the correlation. But then again, right, subversive content. I guess you're not supposed to listen to this kind of thing. If you haven't heard about this, Joe Rogan, it's the biggest podcast in the world. If you don't even like him, I would still encourage you to at least watch an episode, maybe the Elon Musk one, because just to see what everybody's so excited about and interested in. He started off as like a UFC fight commentator. And it morphed into this podcast, and he gets just literally everybody to come on and hang out with him. And it's, huge earner, huge chunk of revenue, and he is announcing this exclusive deal with Spotify that he's gonna get off of YouTube. He's gonna remove all of his content, I guess. Actually, I'm not sure about that. He may leave up the old stuff, but that starting on September 1st, it's only going to be on Spotify, and that's the word on the street. He is also just extremely frustrated with the censorship and the copyright issues and all the things that have turned this platform into just an extremely difficult place to be creative and just sort of relax into your creation, right? Because you're constantly self-censoring, second-guessing, wondering if this is going to hurt the algorithm or blah, right? And there's just so much content about this that I really don't enjoy talking about it. But at the same time, it is pretty fascinating, right? And I'm curious to see how this video loads. I'm trying to watch my words a little bit on this and not talk directly or show any images about the big thing that's happening, right? That I don't think I really need to spell out for you. I laid into those subjects in the last two videos pretty hard. It was receiving some very interesting tips from you guys out there and looking at that. But the interesting thing that happened there is once I finished the video, it was processing, right? And normally this processing only takes like an hour or two, especially on a shorter video like this. And well, those videos with the interesting topics in them remained processing for almost 24 hours, right? And right, it is all kind of just boring YouTube nonsense, but hear me out for 1 second. When the video stays processing, right, some of you may be able to see it, and some of you may also not be able to see it. But more importantly, I will not be able to get in there and see it on my own page. It doesn't show up when I'm logged in to my own account, and therefore I won't be able to respond to any comments or check in with what's going on with the video. And that for the entire first day, which is for a smaller channel like this, the bulk of the views. And so, right, you can see how that it seems arbitrary, like it's on accident. There's no one to blame. It's just the processing. Maybe it just got stuck, but at the same time, it has this chilling effect. And it's right. It's happening to me. So I guess that contributes to the story, but it's mostly right. It's this huge wave that is rippling through all these larger accounts, a bigger part of the community. So Joe Rogan is feeling the same way. And I wonder if I can pull that up. New York Times. Because another huge creator, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it up on the fly here, but PewDiePie was just on. Here it is. PewDiePie, the other big creator. I mean, also worth checking out. He just makes meme videos and everything, but he does have 150 million subscribers. One of the biggest channels ever. And we're hearing the same things out of him, right? But it's a different tactic, right? He has been called out in the past for being edgy and talking about things that maybe he shouldn't be talking about when he has so much influence and power. And he went on the New York Times podcast, and this has been interesting because it's about our community. They're doing this series called Rabbit Hole, and they're looking at us basically in their own New York Timesy kind of way. What's going on here on YouTube in these fringe communities? Why are they forming, and what can we do to stop them, and that kind of stuff. It's good opposition research if you're part of the truth community, but. Right, so here's this huge guy, and he goes on there. He was also making hints at, right, taking a break at the beginning of this year, which I almost tend to believe is him knowing what was going to happen, and that being sort of a symbolic, I'm going to take a couple weeks off work kind of thing, because that's how disclosure and this reality works, right? Large figures end up telegraphing what's going to happen through symbolism, right? Like that. And I remember thinking that was strange. Hey, Mr. Felix, you're gonna take a break, and I guess he did for a couple of days. But in hindsight, it does seem interesting. But what I want to get at here, this is the opposite approach, right? He's probably been informed about what's coming next, what's coming down the pike in this next phase, and he wants to go the other route, right? He has all these subscribers, earning just obscene amounts of money from his YouTube channel, and I think he wants to keep it that way. So he went on the New York Times and gave this interview saying, that was the past. I was kind of silly back then. I was young, just doing memes and wanted to make people laugh. But now, it's a new era, and I want to rehabilitate my image. Say I'm sorry for doing my part in Christchurch and all those other sort of controversial things that happened around me. And I'm like, I'm a new man. I'm PewDiePie, and I'm a new man, and you should come check it out when I do my new thing, right? But he's trying to mold himself into this next version of what is going to be okay, and it's also sort of weird and crazy and depressing on its own level, right? But those seem to be the only options being put on the table. And it really does make me worry for the future of truth and entertainment and everything, that if this is what's happening to these big players, because that's just how everything, it doesn't really matter what world you're looking at, if it's YouTube or sports or something. What's happening at the top is going to trickle down and have influence and effect on everybody, all the way down to the lowliest member of that community. Which I guess would bring us to the glorious president, everybody's favorite guy. And I guess, it's worth studying personalities. I'm much more interested in ideas personally, but this, speaking of personalities, Joe Rogan and PewDiePie, this internet personality has an obscene level of influence, subscribers, all of that kind of stuff. And this is what they're trying to shape and guide as we go forward into the next phase, right? Because, right, if you think it's important right now for them to be controlling the narrative and making sure certain theories get debunked or ridiculed or pushed down, right? I wonder about next year and the coming years, how obscene, how unbelievable the policies and events are going to be for them to require this level of information control, right? Because it has to be crazy, obscene things coming for them to get to the point, right? And that we seem on track maybe in the next, I don't know, I want to say 5 years at the very latest, unless something major happens, that all sorts of controls are going to get put into place, right? So being able to go live like this is probably going to get super hard, and you're going to need tons of subscribers and all that kind of clout to be able to go live, making videos, all that kind of stuff. It's all just going to get garden walled around, and I guess, yeah, that's my prediction, at least, because here are the signs that that's what's coming, right? I actually didn't read this. I want to check this out. U.S. President Donald Trump was signed an executive order on social media companies on Thursday. White House officials threatened to shut down websites he accused of stifling conservative voices. The officials gave no further details. It was unclear how Trump could follow through on the threat of shutting down privately owned companies, including Twitter. Dispute erupted after Twitter on Tuesday for the first time tagged Trump's tweets about unsubstantiated claims of fraud in mail-in voting with a warning prompting readers to fact-check the posts, right? And it's just funny because this is something that, yeah, the truth community and other smaller accounts have been dealing with at this point for years, that right? That's how the algorithm works. It's not exactly perfect. They don't really know what's in your heart, but if you use a certain combination of keywords and display certain images, they're going to put you in this box. And depending on the box, that certain box that you landed in may need a warning, a guidance adjustment, right? And it really doesn't work here on the truth community because often the people are just already sort of informed in a different direction and aren't willing to just instantly start believing a major governmental or non-governmental organization just because they added some pop-up or something. But I'm sure it is actually having some sort of effect. Otherwise, they wouldn't continue to push it and use it. At any rate, it does have this sort of chilling effect. It's super creepy, right? If you make some content and, well, they analyzed it and realized that you were talking about dangerous stuff. You were saying wrong lies, fake truth. And, well, you're not supposed to do that. So we're going to tell you to chill the fuck out. And if you don't, well, I guess you can keep talking, but at your own risk, right? And that's, I'm scared to even bring it up because it goes beyond even the pop-ups, right? There almost does, and maybe it's just me being schizophrenic, paranoid, weird, strange internet person. I mean, I guess I am a person in the real life, but it seems to go beyond that. There seems to be some sort of spiritual, like, I almost want to say demonic level to it, right? That if you really are sort of pushing buttons and pushing back too far against it, that weird stuff is going to happen in your life. Weird things are going to happen to the videos, and it's not really going to be fully explainable. And it's not like somebody's to come into your house and knocking on your door and saying, hey, we saw your video, that you got to stop doing that. That's not cool. We don't care that, it's a small group. We can't have this information going out at all to anybody. So you really just have to stop that. I don't think that day is actually coming. Right. I think they're going to figure out a way to chill everybody out in different ways because they just don't have the resources, the manpower for that kind of thing. But what they can do is have this chilling effect all around the world, and I really am seeing the effects at this point, right? It is, there's an exodus happening, a moving away from from the truth, where we're heading back into this mainline narrative that really was just part of human history for a super long time, when there weren't that many TV stations or newspapers, and everything was just a lot easier to control. They love this internet thing because it just grabs your attention, and since they let you post pictures of your cat, it makes you feel like you're a celebrity, and therefore you do invest more time in celebrity culture, right? I think that's sort of a reflexive thing. If you don't have at least the potential to go viral on right, some sort of video, I don't know, maybe you knocked your friend down and kicked over his lunch tray or something, then right, there's always the potential out there that this video could catapult you to stardom. And I think that whole aspect of our reality is critical for to keep us engaged with this cult of personality that is the news, right? It's not about information, it's about these personalities. And I don't think that would be working as well without Facebook and all of that social media. I guess YouTube on a certain level is social media, but right, there is that huge problem that people do get to say and think whatever they want then as soon as you give them that open platform. And well, it's exhausting, but it's just going to progress in this way. I don't I don't see this guy threatening Twitter having any sort of actual effect on the state of affairs. But right, I don't know. I hope you see that this collection of stories and how it points in this certain direction. And then again, I don't know. People have been talking about how this level of pushback from the highest levels may actually have some sort of good impact. And maybe they would enshrine some sort of principles of free speech and all that kind of stuff in I don't know, the global law that is coming forwards. I just sort of highly doubt it. They've been working so hard on all of this stuff, the self-censorship and the hidden hand type of controlling, that I see it progressing in that direction. Anyways, that's enough of that. What's up? Let's check the chat. What's up, Kim Adams? Good to see you. Good to see you. Kim Adams is asking about the light, which proves that Kim Adams is a legit Fake Truth fan, which I totally appreciate. Those of you that don't know what we're talking about, let me just get something a little smoother over here. I was living in a different location when I started this channel, and in that location there was a little battery-powered light that was outside of my room. And I mean, I am just interested in the nature of our reality and the things that I notice. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'll be the first to admit I'm not a scientist. But the things that I notice that are strange about this world, that don't seem to add up, that make it seem like, at the very least, we have definitely not reached our full understanding of the nature of physics and natural principles. And on the other hand, that maybe, I don't know, it's all just a straight up simulation, computer generated model that we're living in, and me or all of you or some portion of us is just AI. And it may feel real. You may feel super real. You may have a full day. But right? And I don't want to tell you you're AI or who's AI. Maybe I am AI. We're getting off topic. The point is that this light, it was battery powered, right? One of those little battery powered lights that they're not very powerful. And it was outside, so I didn't trip over stuff. And one day I left it on overnight, completely drained the battery. It was dead. And I had to just forget about it. But what I did forget about it, I left it on. I forgot about it on. And the craziest thing started to happen. It would come back on pretty powerfully. It would come back. And this was months after the battery was fully drained. You could have taken those batteries out and put it in anything else, and I don't think it would have worked. And I think maybe it has something to do with ley lines or just the general gathering of energy. Maybe I was putting out good energy, or I think there's many possibilities. But the fact remained that depending on the day, the night, the day, it would turn on. It would be on and completely drain the batteries. And so that would mean to me, well, this energy has to be coming from someplace else. Is it just straight up coming out of the ether? I never had an explanation for it, and it still sort of trips me out. In the same way that, well, clouds not changing shape as they pass by, it trips me out. Makes them seem like they're just big sprites or airships, cloaking devices. If you ever do look up into the sky, which very few people actually do, watch a cloud. Watch a cloud for longer than you feel like, maybe 30 seconds, and try to study the details of this cloud. And let me know, does the cloud change shape at all? Do those little wisps move around and change? Or does that cloud stay locked in the exact shape that it showed up into your field of vision as if it was just a painting on top of whatever is underneath that painting?
That's right. I think there's holograms in the sky. They're protecting us from snakes. Really happy. I think it's a bunch of airships. There's like a breakaway civilization up in the sky. That's where I need to fly. In poetry, and they just get me on those airships. I can comfortably travel around the world. That's my theory, at least. I'm like proof, but you
All right, guys, that's that 33 mark. I'm gonna have to step right out here. I gotta go back to reality. But as always, right? If it's just Kim Adams in the chat, I love you guys. I appreciate just being heard and having some interaction and hearing back from you guys. And it really just honestly super depresses me that they're trying to squash this whole community because it's lovely here. It really is. So I wish you well. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you on the next one. Wait, better chord. Goodbye. Have a good day.